that this is somewhat throwing a wrench into the cooperative the cooperation that was supposed to happen between Miller Coors and Anheuser-Busch. Did you know that Anheuser-Busch was a Czech brewery that's been brewing since the 1500s? But when they brought the formula to America, they didn't they didn't think they had to trademark protect a 500-year-old brand. So they can't use their own name. I learned that from a Czech, from the Czech Republic. So Anheuser-Busch can just take it and sorry. Anyway, the dispute has thrown a wrench into the beer industry's plan to run a cross-brand marketing campaign to help address the beer category's ongoing decline in sales. Did you know that there's counter correlation between economic prosperity and beer consumption? That when the economy's in the tank, more beer gets sold. It's also true about gardening, and there's a couple other home woodworking. And if you want proof about the robust economy right now, just look at beer sales. Okay, on that note, let's go over to South Dakota. Richard Branson pens a letter to South Dakota urging residents to book a Virgin cruise. Apparently, they have a new ship that's adult by design. Okay, whatever that means. I don't want to know. Virgin adult. I don't know. Anyway, and so they put up this billboard which has a difficult to read typeface, I think. It should have cut out that little red line. And they said that everybody but South Dakota is booking tours, which is an interesting take. And here's an ad that's going to run in the New York Times, I believe, this week. Ahoy, South Dakota, Richard Branson here. Okay, all caps, not readable. Reverse on red, white on red, not readable. I can't even bother to read the copy. Good Lord. Here's that same typeface that they used on the billboard, but they need to have a toned down version for billboards. And oh, by the way, all caps. Does anybody know how to design a billboard? I passed a billboard about 4 times about children in hospitals. You couldn't read the name of the hospital. Okay, squint your eyes, take off your glasses, give it to an old person, and see if they can read any of this, which they can't. So on that note, Richard, it'll probably still work. Okay, another crisis. Young Spaniards aren't buying cars, and it's not just Spaniards, it's all across Europe. Sales of new car buyers under 30 dropped by half in the last 10 years. Driver's licenses for those 35 and under dropped 50%, and car buying too. And if you live in the Midwest, you kind of have to have a car, but because our cities just aren't designed for our whole country isn't really designed for anything else. But if you live in the city, this trend started in the big cities, and with Uber coming on, my son-in-law is in real estate, and he went to a seminar last year, and they said, don't be building parking structures anymore. The long-term projection is people are going to drive fewer and fewer cars. Now, try to find a parking spot in Chicago. You probably can't. So it's not, entirely bad, but it is an interesting trend. One factor was young people's concern about carbon dioxide emissions, which I think is foolish, and the mad dash to electrics to solve it, which doesn't solve it because you're burning stuff to generate the electricity, but never mind. I know you believe these things. And cities are clamping down on congestion. I think that's true. And, it does make sense to pump the CO2 and other pollutants up high so they can disperse a bit, rather than having them down at street level for pedestrians to inhale. German factories have big labor contracts, so they're overproducing in order to keep running. Overregulation, overproduction, a shifting landscape. My, oh my, the poor auto industry. I don't have much sympathy, but I just wanted to let you know that your industry can come under attack, and it can change dramatically almost overnight. That said, let's look at the idea of measurement versus analysis. Okay? Gobs of data fuel every aspect of marketing these days. Without all kinds of fresh data at your disposal, your brand is at risk. That had nothing to do with the car industry or probably the beer industry, right? But you think that. You think, I got to get more data to make a decision. But you know what? There's never enough data to make a decision. Why is that? Because data is historical. No matter what people talk about in terms of real-time data, it's all historical. And the future is unpredictable. Keep that in mind. And so, therefore, no amount of data, unless it's about the future and it's certain, will get you to a decision. You have to make a decision in spite of either too much or too little data. Okay? But, never mind. In 2011, there were 150 recorded marketing technology solutions. By 2018, there were 6,829. I love the decimals. Just say almost 7,000. I mean, this is the problem with data today. People want to be ultra precise, which actually is just noise. You'd be better off picking a number and saying this is the number, because at least it would be meaningful and I might remember it. Okay, so all this stuff you can keep track of. That's the answer. Comprehensive analytics software. Yeah. Back in the 80s, we were pitched that if you had a computer in your marketing department, you would have all the data you could ever want. And then when you started getting the data, we were pitched, query tools, natural query language. And, the marketers didn't know what to ask, and they would shut down the computer processing. And so now we have to have big data, and not that, I ask people, and this is something you should think about. What did we do before we had computers? I was actually in business before computers. I helped a company buy their first computer, and another company I worked with didn't have any. And the answer is we focused on the important things. Pick a couple numbers. I love the dashboard idea. Okay, but anyway, there's this tool, Finteza, which is a comprehensive analytics tool. So if you think that's going to help you, the tool is free for now. So go for that. So go to Finteza. If you notice my glasses, I left my good glasses at home in the Minnesota box. Here, now this is an interesting one. I didn't know what to make of this, but I'm gonna contact Alice. And she says that marketers have a responsibility to only speak when we have something of value to say. I think this is valuable. She said the other day there was an article by an influencer who recommended publishing content every single day. I would never recommend that. I take Sundays off. I take Saturdays off. I take legal holidays mostly off. I took Monday off. Scott Adams does every day. He really does. But she says, I guess she's speaking for the Drum. We think it's nonsense. Did you notice that the Drum publishes every day? If you're going to compete with a marketing magazine, you kind of got to do it. But I don't think it's easy. I think she's right that too much marketing isn't really worth saying. I think back to Richard Branson pummeling South Dakota because they don't want an adult cruise. One interesting fact in that article was that South Dakotans only use 26, notice, not 25, not a quarter of their vacation days, but 26%. Does anyone use 26% exactly on the button? How would you do that? If you have 2 weeks of vacation days, okay, that's basically 10 work days. You can't do 26%. You could do 20% if you only use 2 vacation days, or you could do 30 if you only use 3. But you can't do 26%. See, this is the trouble with marketers. But here's the trouble, Alice. I don't know when I'm going to say something profound. Some days, last Friday, I said something profound about Nordstrom's. That got hundreds and hundreds of views and a dozen shares, which I rarely get. And so sometimes I hit something. Talk over the volume. You can't. Okay, you can't talk over the volume, so it's consistency. I let others give me ideas, and then I say what I think about them. And I should note, my daughter, who's a millennial and in a hurry all the time, said she listens to my talk on YouTube at twice the speed. So I can talk as slow as I want, and she's still happy. She said, I just can't take all the pauses. Well, that's what happens when you try to be profound. Anyway, back in the saddle, raining again, cold again, coming up on June. I hope things change. Have a great day. Like and share. Share this with somebody. Share this with one of your friends who doesn't want to own a car. It's fine with me. Have a great day.